What is up, fam? Thanks for coming through for another RBTH Extra. I'm Asaf Nisim. We do indeed have Little Broken Picard in the house. We're shooting for my studio in New York, and he just had to be here. Let's say some things. Manchester United. What can I say that has not already been said? You're like a strong, beautiful woman who gave her all to a power relationship lasting almost 3 decades. Oh, the times they had. The records they've broken. But that's all in the past now. The last few seasons have been riddled with players in and out of her life. She's finally found a nice, classy guy to take charge, but the well has run dry. There's no spark, no way forward. For now, there's just Keith. Clearly, Rio Ferdinand was not having it after the Burnley match. His rant has gone viral, I think, because of the sheer honesty of the reaction. He was genuinely distraught, ashamed, and embarrassed by the direction or lack thereof at United.
You said £600 million spent on the squad. On what? I don't see it out there. I don't see that money, the recruitment, what has been bought. There's nothing there that suggests to me that this is going to be something that's laying down the foundations for future. I'm sitting up here, if I'm honest, I'm embarrassed. It's embarrassing to be here, the way that the team is, not just about the team performing, but I don't see what's coming next. I don't see a pathway. I don't see a target being set on a wall and say we're going to get to that and this is how we're going to get there. I just don't see it from the recruitment. Put this result to one side. I'm talking the recruitment and the actual building of a squad, the foundations that are being put in place for this squad now to go on and challenge at some point, not immediately, but we're realistic, in a couple of years maybe, build that squad. But money's been spent willy-nilly the last 7 years. What's to show for it here? I don't see what's there. I mean, you can't defend this. And I mean, like, what has been invested? You've seen shirts, these young kids now in the schools around the country, they're not going to be wearing Man United shirts. They're not going to be wanting to come in and support Man United based on what you're seeing out there. It's just not going to happen. Fans are walking out after 84 minutes. It's an embarrassment. People at the top need to look and see this and actually make changes. Put a plan in place that people can actually sit there and go, actually, I can see where we're going now. I don't see it.
I have to agree with Rio here. United have failed to recruit properly in recent times. They've spent a lot of money and ended up with not much at all. You can't just keep going from manager to manager, project to project, recruiting along the way, and expect to come out with a cohesive team with direction and a clear identity. Not unless you have a board like, say, Chelsea does, famously clashing with an assortment of managers over their recruitment and control. If you don't have that, you end up with a £600 million team about as shallow as Sir Alex Ferguson's nightly footbath. United were set up to cater to Sir Alex. This is no secret. The dude ran the show, and he did it incredibly. Not anymore. Owen Hargreaves thinks that 5th is as good as it gets for United right now. He desperately needs help. If you think Herrera left, Fellaini left, in midfield, they are really light. Then Lukaku leaves, Sanchez leaves. They don't have any help up top. Rashford then gets injured. Pogba hasn't played. McTominay, one of their best players this season, hasn't played. The recruitment wasn't there to back Ole up, and then injuries to key players. To be 5th with this squad, I think right now, is as good as it can possibly get. There are only 4 points separating 5th and 4th. I don't think it's going to go up more. It's more likely to go down, and that's the big worry. He's right about one thing. Ole needs help. But isn't it a bit embarrassing to claim that 5th is the best United can do right now, and both Chelsea and Leicester are in 4th and 2nd place respectively, and Chelsea has had its own challenges to deal with. The recruitment wasn't there to back up Ole? No, of course not. Ole's like the youngest kid in 19 kids and counting, getting hand-me-down shoes that don't fit. None of the clothes have a cohesive style that's his own. He's hovering around the dinner table fighting numbers 17 and 18. They stopped naming them after Cindy, number 10, was born, but thought, fuck it. He's the last little shit. Let's give him at least 2 or 3 letters. He's fighting 17 and 18 for scraps as the kids with names engorge themselves on overpriced food that was either past its prime, given to other people without realizing its full potential, or just ragtag, put together with zero taste, if you catch my drift. It was definitely a rough moment for Rio though, but you have to say that recent Bruno Fernandez signing is something of a statement, no? I haven't heard much about him, but I've been doing some research, and folks, this kid really does seem like the real deal. He just spent a couple seasons with Sporting in Portugal after leaving Sampdoria on a €10 million transfer. The kid is blowing up the Portuguese top tier as well as the Europa League with a total of 28 appearances, 15 goals, and 14 assists in all competitions. This is the kind of midfielder that likes to get goals, and he gets them every which way. He scores free kicks, golazos, left-footed strikes. He only doesn't get too many headers. He's had like a couple. He's not really small. He's 6 feet tall, but I guess it's just not part of his game yet. But he's sick on the ball, skills, assists, really seems to have it all. Complete player. Played a season with Nani. You'd imagine he's probably had a word or two with the club about him. These things tend to happen. And United need him dearly. This dude can pick up the slack where Pogba has been missed. Mostly. Kinda. Let's be honest. He should probably be sold to the highest bidder ASAP. In an interview with French newspaper L'Equipe back in May, Mourinho shed a tiny bit of light on what was going on behind the scenes at United when he was there. Of course, you have to take anything anyone says with a grain of salt. Consider their motives, consider the narrative that suits them best, consider them being a small man whose first name is Jose, last name rhyming with Schmorschminio. Mourinho said, quote, "About Manchester United, I want to say only 2 things. One is that time has spoken. 2 is that the problems are still there. Was I a victim of Pogba? No. The problems are there. You can imagine that the problems are the players, the organization, the ambition. I only say that I cannot say yes when you ask if Paul was the only one responsible." I think considering his words here, we can confirm that Mourinho and Pogba not only had a toxic relationship, Mourinho definitely holds him at least partly responsible for his problems at United. I can't imagine anyone with a brain thinking that Pogba was the one problem Mourinho had at United. No need to point that out for any reason at all. If anything, it seemed more of a slight aimed at Pogba, disguised as a defense of him. Classic mind-gaming Jose. In this interview, Mourinho said it was clear that the squad needed a complete overhaul during his tenure. Bro, according to Forbes magazine, since you arrived at United, which was the summer of 2016, United spent £362 million on 11 players. I can't be sure how much Mourinho had to do with every one of those acquisitions, and you also have to give Mourinho credit for essentially a second-place finish under an unstoppable Manchester City and a Europa League trophy at the end of the day. We can deliberate until we are blue in the face, but the bottom line is that it has to be complete and utter mismanagement from the top down. Ole isn't responsible for this awful run. I mean, he is, for sure. Ultimately, United under Ole are uninspired, stale, and not even really having a go. So while it's really a greater problem from the top down, I agree with Rio and Owen Hargreaves here, but note that Ole hasn't delivered on anything resembling the baseline quality they've got on the field, but I don't think he was ever going to be an out-of-the-box success at United. The situation was toxic, it seems like it's still toxic, and it doesn't seem that Ole has the experience to turn such a situation around. He's never necessarily done this before as a manager. Who knows though, maybe signing a really talented midfielder like Fernandez to replace the Pogba that never was, perhaps that could be the spark they need. Perhaps that is the glue that connects the pieces. For the record though, I will say that I tend to think that if United brought in a seasoned pro like Everton did with Signore Carlo Ancelotti, things maybe it wouldn't quite look this bad,